250cc Villiers engine, two-stroke engine. These Bond cars obviously come in all shapes and sizes. 1960 Messerschmitt KR200, owned by Maurice Rogers from Eastbourne. Bought and respray. 1960 Messerschmitt KR200, owned by Maurice Rogers from Eastbourne. Next in comes a 1983 Reliant Fox, owned by Malcolm Dodd from Stalybridge. Reliant Fox van was bought new in 83, made with a galvanised chassis with a detachable back. It's converted into, owned by Mick Stacey from Amersham in Buckinghamshire, powered by a 250cc Villiers two-stroke engine, and driving the front wheel by a chain. Been owned by Mick Stacey since 1970. The all-British Bond minicar was built in Preston, Lancashire from 1948 to 1966. Bond minicar Mark G Tourer, owned by Ken and Rona Bell from Hawkswell in Essex. Only 50 of these cars were built by Sharps Commercials in Preston. There's only approximately 8 surviving today. Just mid. TG 500 is from Derek Cole from Chelmsford in Essex. Manufactured in 1959 at the factory in Germany. Bought from a friend just 5 years ago. It's a 1959 Messerschmitt TG 500, owned by Derek Cole from Essex. $30,000 miles on the clock. Last year it was driven to Holland and near the German border without a hitch. Powered by a single-cylinder two-stroke engine, does about 65 miles to the gallon. 200 cabin roller, owned by Raymond Oates from Suffolk. The car was designed by Fritz Fend, who also designed the landing gear for the Heinkel bombers and various other aircraft. The very early cars that he produced were made for the war wounded that had become invalids and were called Fend Flitzers, only built between 48 and 52. 1960 Messerschmitt KR200 cabin scooter, now coming along the top side of the arena. This from David Werrell from Melbourne in Cambridgeshire. Three-wheeled bubble car, it says here. We were told they weren't bubble cars, but it says bubble car here. Designed by Fritz Fend, launched in 1955. This is a cabriolet version made in 1960. Seats 2 adults and 1 child in tandem. Powered by a 200cc single-cylinder two-stroke scooter engine. Top speed 60 miles. 1967 Regent limousine. This from Margot Werrell from Cambridgeshire. The German Mini that this is, built by Hans Glass of Bavaria, powered by 250cc engine, can be driven on a motorcycle licence in Germany. This particular type of vehicle launched in 1955 and produced until 1969. This was built in 1967, 300cc twin-cylinder two-stroke engine, top speed 53 miles per hour. 1961 BMW Isetta, owned by Mike and Jackie Arnold from Seaford in East Sussex, manufactured in Brighton in 1961. Early history not known, but bought by the present owner some 15 years ago. One of 4 total wrecks found in a farm field and totally restored to its present condition. 1961 BMW Isetta, owned by Mike and Jackie Arnold from Seaford in East Sussex. Cabine 200 is from Ray and Jenny Dilks from Pinxton in Nottinghamshire, just going along the top side of the arena. Bought in 1988 as a box of bits and totally restored. 1958 Heinkel Cabine 200. A 1961 Messerschmitt Cabriolet, owned by Steve Pepper from Harrogate in North Yorkshire. Just making its way along the top side of Steve Pepper from Harrogate. A 1963 Bond Mark G 250cc, owned by 5 years ago in a very poor state. Complete rebuild has taken place, and this year the Villiers 250cc engine was rebuilt. The car originally built by Sharps Commercials at Preston in Lancashire in July 1963. Bought in 1982 as a main mode of transport. Now has more British steel than Italian steel in it, with all the repairs that have been undertaken. 1972 Fiat 500L, owned by Sheila Ellis from Wigan in 19 1965 Bond Mark G Tourer, owned by David Miller from Halesowen in the West Midlands. One of the last of the motorcycle-engined mini-cars. This one did 30,000 miles in its first 2 years as a company car. It was originally the colour you see it in today, then purple to match the owner's tie, well it was the 1960s, then beige, and then it came back to life in its original. The top side of the arena, 1962 Bond Mark G Estate 3-wheeler, owned by Grenville Taylor from Nottingham. Some 3,253 of these were produced. Engine is a 250cc, single-cylinder 2-stroke, cruises at 45 miles per hour. 1962 Bond Mark G Estate 3-wheeler, owned by Grenville Taylor from Nottingham. Bond Minicar Mark D family car, owned by John Johnson from Silsden in West Yorkshire. Bought in 1975 in a derelict state, put back on the road 21 years ago, now awaiting its second restoration. 1955 Bond Minicar Mark D family saloon, owned by John Johnson from West Yorkshire. 1965 Bond Mark G Tourer, this from David McNeice from Rotherham. This is a 1965 Bond minicar, has a 250cc Villiers motorcycle engine. This car has no reverse gear, but has an aluminium body. 1959 BMW 600 Saloon, owned by David Morgan from Mid Glamorgan. One of only 12 BMW 600s imported to Great Britain in 1959, and this was the first car off the ferry. 1959 BMW 600 Saloon, owned by David Morgan from South Wales. Well, not wanting to be left out, we have something which does call itself. It's a 1961 BMW Isetta 300 Bubblecar. This from Rick Leader from Ride on the Isle of Wight. These cars first produced by the ISO Company of Milan in Italy in 1953, with production being made under license in France and Germany by BMW, who eventually acquired the sole manufacturing rights. 1961 BMW Isetta 300 Bubblecar, owned by Rick Leader from Ride. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the lined-up from the Bond Owners Club. Thanks to all of the Bond owners, members, for coming down with us at Haven Street today. As you could tell from those brief commentary notes, many of the vehicles travelled from far and wide across the UK to be with us here on the Isle of Wight this bank holiday weekend, and here at Haven Street on day 4 of our Island Steam Show. Good to see you. They're not bubble cars, that's the complete lineup. They'll be in the arena